Okay, so today we're going to talk about the interface for the future of work. A little bit about me. So my name is Amir. Honestly, I've had the most non-linear path in my career. I started out in college. I had a background in med school. Like I was going to go to med school. I went to med school. Then I'm like, you know what? I kind of like technology and computer engineering. So I got into that. I built like one of Canada's first electronic prescribing networks. Then sold that company, got into diagnostics, and had a chance to work with blood testing companies. I worked with the professor that actually debunked Theranos. I don't know if you guys remember that company. And then I never had a job, so I was like, what's that world like? So I went and worked for a venture startup from Sun Life Financial, you know, the insurance company. Like, hey, we want someone from the startup background, come help us run this company. It's a separate brand. Did that for about, a year and a half, really cool, not for me. And then I kind of was like, you know what, what's next? What do I want to do? So I just took a bunch of shrooms and I realized I want to go travel the world for a little bit. So turns out, for the past 2 years, I ended up probably spending almost 10 days in the airplane, so about 50 or so flights, went all over the world. And then what you see right here is everything I own, pretty much a backpack. I still have the backpack and I'm still doing that, but my parents forced me to get a mattress so I don't sleep on the floor anymore when I came back to Toronto. So that's where I am. And today we're going to talk about how we're pretty much in the era of idea people. And what that means is before you really had a barrier for a lot of people that had a lot of great ideas to actually build what they wanted to, what they had to conceptualize. And what we're seeing now with the rise of AI tools is that you can actually go from being just an idea person, the idea guy or the idea girl, to actually becoming the builder as well. And when you learn how to build and also sell, I think you pretty much become invincible. And I think there's a Naval quote there somewhere that talked about, learn to build and learn to sell, and you can pretty much do anything. And that's where we are. And I'm going to talk about a little about Cursor specifically. Before I do, has anyone heard about Claude, ChatGPT, obviously, Cursor, kinda? Okay, cool. All right, so Cursor is just pretty much an environment for you to write your code, if you're not familiar with it. And it's an extension or a clone of what VS Code used to be. So VS Code is traditionally used as an environment for a lot of developers to write their code. And what we saw was there was a gap between what VS Code had and what ChatGPT was, and there's no context between the two. A company called Cursor came along and built a chat AI, like chat AI chat on top of VS Code that essentially gave you all the extension of what you want to have as an AI in your code base. And it enabled you to write code really quickly with the context, so you don't have to paste your code, put it into ChatGPT, and then go back into your code base and make that change. And that's company, I think they're under 30 people now, and they've been around for about a year and a half, and they're generating about $500 million in revenue, which is pretty much the fastest growing company in the world. They just recently raised $9 billion, which is just unheard of. And I want to talk to you about how Cursor is changing people's lives. So this is my friend Thomas. He's a designer. We were eating noodles at Earl's, and he texted me the day before. He's like, yo, I have an idea. I'm like, bro, what's your idea? He's like, I want to build an AI trading bot. So he has a background in crypto and finance, and he's a designer. And he's like, it'd be really cool to build a bot that can kind of analyze the charts and tell me what to buy and sell. I was like, yo, let's jam next week. I'll teach you how to code using AI. And we're going to vibe code together. So he came over, and he's working very, very hard. And he was coding. I was doing push-ups over here. I was like, you code, I'll tell you what to do, and you can just learn. I was doing handstands. I've been into calisthenics these days. And then actually, we've been meeting every week at Waterworks by Cross Ace Hotel, and a bunch of us are vibe coding, and there's Ruben over there somewhere. Oh, there he is. Where my friend Thomas is showing his MVP to Ruben. And he's showing what he's built. And essentially, we would spend an hour every day where we would essentially build out his MVP. And I showed him the MVP. And over lunch one day, we ended up actually building his MVP. He's like, oh, it works, and there it is. We pretty much spent 2 weeks building it, and he learned how to code. Woo! And then he's like, basically, he texted me the other day, he's like, hey man, in under a month, I built a full stack app with AI and blockchain, absolutely insane. And then he sent me a link, and I was like, dude, not even a month, it's been like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And he's like, I'm gonna apply to a hackathon in New York. I was like, yo, you should do it, definitely do it. 3 days later, I get a text. This guy wins the hackathon as a solo developer and wins $10,000 across three different categories with like 10 teams. I was like, bro, how did you go from not knowing how to write a single line of code to building an app to then actually winning the hackathon? So he's like, yo, just so you know, I won first and third place. He put 2 places and got $10,000. So throughout this time, I've been just sharing my work. And what was really interesting specifically was Cursor is traditionally used for development and programming. And given kind of my diverse background in engineering, design, I've been a builder, I can do pretty much everything. I was like, what if we take the constraints that we have of this environment and we expand it beyond just development? So I started sharing my work on YouTube and Twitter, kind of went viral, yada, 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 and then I started teaching other people all of my processes. I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is a friend of mine here, he sold multiple companies but didn't know how to code, and he was just like, dude, you changed my life. Basically, I would hold these sessions with a bunch of different people, showing them exactly how to take their ideas, conceptualize it into actually building these apps. And what's crazy here, this is Ryan Carson. He's like the founder of Treehouse, which is like the OG programming education hub. And he's like, dude, your content changed my life. Because like, basically what we really talked about was how you as a designer or a product manager or marketer no longer have to be constrained to the barriers of like learning how to code, and you can use the same tools, the frameworks, and the mindset to build your ideas and also accelerate in your current function. So as a designer, you can ideate your ideas or build it, or as a marketer, you can learn how to actually expand it. And what was particularly different or interesting was with Cursor, traditionally AI didn't have a good way to interact with external services. Typically if you have a web application, you use something like an API, which is a key. Think of it as a key to another house where you can open that door, see what's inside, take what you want, and close the door. With AI, we didn't have a standard interface to be able to actually interact with external data within your LLM. So say, for example, you had ChatGPT and you wanted to be able to connect your Google Calendar to create an event, edit an event. That wasn't possible before. There were some ways to do it, but it wasn't a standard to do it. And a company called Anthropic came in and created something called Model Context Protocols, which is just a synonym for basically APIs, which is an interface for you to be able to have your AI communicate with external tools and services, to be able to interact, create, update, and grab data or push data. And MCPs was pretty much revolutionary in a way, because you can now have your large language models interact with a bunch of different apps in a single interface, and you don't really have to leave your interface. And that's where Cursor was really powerful, because as a development tool, people started actually using Cursor not only to build their apps, but actually to interact with the AIs, to access other apps and pull data. So say, for example, I'll do a demo afterwards. You wanted to be able to, traditionally you wanted to scrape data. You would have to go use a third-party tool or use an API to pull that data, and you have to go through multiple steps. You can now have your agents within the chat actually call an MCP that you've connected to, and it'll go automatically use an external service or an app, scrape that data, and serve it up to you. What you see now with like ChatGPT is limited on its training, and one of the capabilities of ChatGPT is it can do search. Now think about not only search, but it can scrape, access external data, update data on other apps. This is the power of MCPs and how it essentially opened up the toolkit for both developers, designers, and how they use AI. And then anyways, throughout that time, again, a friend of mine is like, I woke up at 3 a.m. just to get an idea out for an hour. I'm obsessed. Blah, blah, blah. People were just enjoying how much they were building. We got a community of builders going, people from all different backgrounds, all different technical skill sets, from designers to marketers to engineers. Everyone was kind of building and vibing and having a great time. And really the outcome of this is what I want you to take away with is that software engineering, marketing, used to be like black magic until now. And I want to quickly show you how that has changed over time. So think of yourself as a marketer or someone that is traditionally used to programming. I want to take that barrier away from you so you can actually use Cursor tomorrow to accelerate your work or augment your work. So as a marketer, I'll show you how to create content in just a couple steps, or be able to actually scrape data of companies. Like say for example, you're selling software to a director of marketing at some company. I'll show you how to actually get all that data, their emails, and generate personalized emails for outbound, all within Cursor. And you don't have to just know how to do any programming whatsoever. You just have to know how to prompt. So I'm going to show you how we can use it in a quick demo. And so I'm going to open up Cursor here. And it's going to be hard to do two hands, but I'll try my best. And basically, so this is what you would typically see in any sort of IDE which developers use. They have their context tree or like the files on the left, their directory, and then they have a terminal. And what Cursor's done differently is they basically give you access to a chat window. And what you can do is you can interact with the chat window to do certain tasks. So in this case, I'm going to say, I don't know how to, okay, I'm going to go like this. So, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, actually, you know what? I'll go. I'll hold this. It's fine. You got it? Yeah, I got it. So, say for example, I want to say, I want you to scrape and find the top 5 companies in the analytics space. I want you to use Firecrawl. Now, Firecrawl is an MCP that helps AI agents scrape data to find the top 5 analytics companies. And what this will do, oh, I'm not connected to the internet, one sec. Okay, we're connected. And what this essentially does, the agent that used to be confined to the training knowledge is now able to actually access more knowledge by using MCPs to search and scrape the web and other data sets to find the data it needs. So right now what Firecrawl is doing is it's actually doing a search for the top 5 analytics companies in the business intelligence space, and it's going to go ahead and provide me that as a output. Now, what I've done for my own companies, and I have an app in the analytics space, is I've created an LLM.txt file, which is basically a context file of everything about my business that I want the AI to know. So this is what the product is, these are the features, here's what you need to know about the business, and here's my ideal persona, and here's who I want to go after. I can use this context to give it to the LLM to say, based on the data you've just scraped, and based on the context that I provided for you, I want you to write very personalized emails about my tool as to how I would sell it to these people. So it can go ahead and scrape that data for me. It can not only scrape it, but actually taking the context of what I've provided it with, which is this context file, and then, sorry, my internet might be slow, and actually go ahead and generate emails and outbound strategy. So while that's happening, I'll show you an example of what that looks like. So it went ahead and found some tools here. So I'm going to zoom in. So it found some tools. It talked about the pricing, the strengths, the weaknesses, the pricing, and how it actually compares to my tool. And then in addition to that, it went ahead and created a sequence of emails that it was sent to these executives or these key decision makers at the company as to how it would actually pitch my product. And then it came out with a strategy of what to do in terms of follow-up templates and so on and so forth. What's also interesting is that I got it to do a marketing strategy for me. So I wanted to actually create a content calendar based on the research it did. So I said, hey, I want you to do use Perplexity through here and use Firecrawl to find a bunch of information about my company, and then create a content calendar that pitches like that, kind of talks about the features that I want. But what I also want you to do is, as you're creating these articles, I want you to take into account keyword data. So as marketers, typically what's really important for you is you want to ensure that as you're creating your blogs for SEO, you have keywords that you're targeting. So I'm in the analytics space. I want to target analytics, A/B testing. That's what I want to. When you search that, that's what I want to come up for. So what I did is I provided keyword context. I was like, here's the top keywords, here's the competition, here's the difficulty. Take that into context for me, and then I want you to do research and then create articles based on the keywords and the topic that I talked to you about. So for example, it talked about Humblytics versus Google Analytics. I'm in the analytics space, so that makes sense. Or the best A/B tools for 2025, or Google Analytics alternatives. And basically, it's now created articles directly based on the context of my company, the keyword data that I provided, and the research it did to find information about these different tools. So essentially, what I can also do is use an MCP to schedule my content directly in here, meaning I don't have to open up another app. I've gone ahead from research, scraping, to content creation, to sales, to now actually scheduling that content using an MCP to connect to my Twitter or my LinkedIn, all within this interface. And this is through kind of essentially multi-agents and MCPs. Why this is interesting is because a lot of people are typically in the traditional use case are using apps and external services to do this kind of task, and something like Cursor that's used for development is now being applied for engineering, for design and sales, and it's giving the people the power to be able to build, ship, and market all their apps or their work all through here in a single interface. So yeah, that's pretty much a demo of what you can do. So right now the internet is slow, but what it's doing is it's just essentially doing a search of different companies and tools, and then it pulls it and it gives me a file that I can use. Yeah, that's it.